Welcome everybody, this is Dr. Zoo, 4:01 p.m, Thursday, 30th of July, 2026. We are up to episode 94. If you've got that little thumb there just to say that Dr. Zoo's not talking to himself, that would be fantastic. Beautiful. That's it. We've got one person listening. That's all that Dr. Zoo worries about. One person, that is fine. Great to have you all on board. Fantastic. Been a nice week. Cannot complain at all. Just let's cover off on AUSTRAC. No news. Bris Vegas. Welcome, Bris Vegas. In the house. That's what we're talking about. Well, AUSTRAC. Gone quiet. We checked just before I got online here today, everybody. I made sure I logged into the portal just to see if any nasties had popped up. Nothing. It's sitting there, sitting our submission, sitting quietly. Well, fingers crossed. I tell you what, we're getting the pointy end now. They're taking us right through at 90 days from the 12th of May. Goodness me. On or about the, 12th of August, I suppose. If we do the maths on that. Someone will do the maths for me. That'd be fantastic. Nathalia, welcome on board, Nathalia. Now, yes, so look, nothing in the portal there, nothing to report. Been no more requests. I suppose everybody was quite surprised that Dr. Zoo had a clean bill of health with his national police check. Hey, how good is that? That's one for the trolls. Hey, what a bummer. There you go. Well, anyway, so can tick that box. And also, the other one that I checked out the portal just before, the Australian Financial Review Innovation of the Company of the Year Awards 2026. They had extended the Stage 2 applicants. As you know, we succeeded in getting through to Stage 2, which is unbelievable. Let's hope we can go further. Let's hope we can get in the finals, if not win it, because it would be a massive accolade after all these years for our great CTO, Robert Novak. Now, cheerio to Rob. He's been beavering away on things that make your head spin. Always gets my head spinning. Mondays, I need 2 days off, bit of Panadol. It's unbelievable stuff he comes up with. Plenty of exciting, interesting stuff. But the portal in the AFR, it closed off any final late updated submissions at 11:59 p.m. today. So that's done and dusted. That'll be now in the machine workabouts of the Australian Financial Review to see how we go. And we got some pretty good stuff that we put in, I've got to say. We'll give ourselves a bit of a pat on the back. Incredible to be through to Stage 2 for a start, but let's see if we can go the next level, go the mile on that one, which is fantastic. Now, plenty have been happening around the world as well. Just a 2-second burst on some amazing stuff, really. We've got a new premier, for those that don't know, a new premier in Victoria. I mean, even now, we don't know whether we like this bloke or not, but Ben Carroll has decided to step into the void, and we've lost the great Jacinta Allen. I was a bit depressed when I heard that news because I thought we'd have a nice run up and see how she'd go right through till the November elections. But there you go. There's already, I think there's been some fresh air coming across from the border today. There's a bit of an upside. People are starting to get a bit bouncy. Even if you vote Labor or Liberal, does not matter. We have a new person in charge who's indicated they're going to be a royal commission. We might get to see some interviews with the great Dan Andrews and the greater Jacinta Allen, and they might just start to explain to us. Now, I've got to say, great buddy, Albury, New South Wales. We call this Silicon River. Silicon River. You wouldn't think what comes out around the world with these major projects, but they can come from anywhere, out of left field. If you think about it, good old Marcus Zuckerberg, he got his social media platform running, Facebook Meta, out of a college bedroom with all his mates. And then you've got the great man, Steve Jobs. Really, he is one of the fantastic people that is my hero, is Dr. Zoo's hero, really. Didn't have his degree, had nothing. Used to walk around barefoot, smelt like hell, but had these visionary ideas that came left, right, and centre. So, it's Fantastic to see. Now, I just got a text here. Not a text, I've got an email rather. Let me just check this out because this is to do with, we had a few dramas with the Zutopia name. Can you believe it? You got trademarks and you got to check the law, and it's all gets a bit around in all these countries around the world, and you got to get the registered business names, and there's an overlap between bits and pieces. But I've just got an email that the official registration of the main entity that runs Zutopia has been approved today. Oh no, hang on. Date of registration is the 24th of August. That's the original registration of the entity. But yeah, as of today, it's saying that it is officially as at the 30th of July. What a great day. Zutopia LP. That name's going to go down in history, everybody. Zutopia LP. While I'm on Zutopia, because I did get distracted there, just popped up on the screen. While I'm on it, Riley and the team, we're very close with the relaunch of the website. I got to say, if any of you out there get disappointed with the look and feel of this site, I'm just going to lock myself in a room for 24 hours because it's got that real angsty, exciting flavour for what we're trying to target is Gen Z. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're not Gen Z, you're still welcome. We love you. We love you on board. We want to be here and all the rest of it. And Zutopia is going to make a killing, which means, as we talked before, in fact, there's a lot of people out there in Zucoin world that have more coins than Dr. Zoo. Now, I'm not disappointed about that. Would love to have been as rich as Elon Musk, but what the hell? There's only so many hamburgers you can have in a day. There's only so many T-bones. I was reminded of that the other day. In fact, I was a bit naughty this morning. Dr. Zoo had to go and get a blood test and had a bit of that banana bread. Forgot that he has to fast for 24 hours before he can go and get it. So anyway, we'll revisit that tomorrow now as we tackle that. But well done, Cronulla. We love Cronulla. Magnificent spot through there. One of the great beaches on earth. Can get a little cold. I'm not suggesting that our great friends in the Bahamas are, I think they're well in front. 25 degrees in the Bahamian waters of the Caribbean. I've often said it. That's why the pirates didn't bother keep going any further. They stopped there and said, that's enough. Let's not bother discovering the rest of the world. Let's just park our boats here and enjoy the unbelievable turquoise waters of the Caribbean. It's one of the most extraordinary places on earth over there. I'd love to be in a position, once the Gulf Stream's locked and loaded, that, and we'll have a few invited guests on the plane, but we go to the Caribbean, that'll be one of the destinations where we will definitely have an international convention for everybody. And it might even be one of those things where we've got so much money and loose change in our pockets that, and money coming through the selling of data on Zutopia, that we'll end up funding a lot of that as for coin holders and get together and have a real big celebration. But we'll have celebrations all over the shop. Don't forget, we're definitely going to try and piece together something. I spoke to the great Zucoin holders, Sandy and Gav. The Kai Bong cocktail is definitely on the agenda up north. That's like something out of Woodstock. Cannot believe that Dr. Zoo will be wearing no thongs, just, shorts and shirt hanging out and getting playing that Willie Nelson song. Everything's gone to pot. But that's going to be a very momentous occasion as well. We'll sort of, and of course, sometimes we'll have some official things. I'm not a real big fan of black tie and all that sort of stuff, but Dr. Zoo sort of is trying to encourage a lot of the racing clubs to downgrade a little bit. It's nice to dress up, don't get me wrong. It's nice to get dressed up occasionally, but stuck in a suit or, these sort of outfits. I did a bit of research on ties just while I'm thinking about that, and they're a bit of a nonsense, really. If you think about a tie hanging around a bloke's neck, what does it mean? I mean, it's crazy. It was actually started in about the 17th century, a group of Croatians running around killing people, and in self-defense or whatever. But and we like the Croatians. It's a beautiful spot there on the Mediterranean. That's the next Riviera. You can bet your bottom dollar that'll be another place to go, and you get tax-free money there as well. Beautiful. I know that's where the great Robert Novak wants to be parking himself there in the future. But they come up with this idea they couldn't identify each other, so they put a bit of a red rag around their necks, and that sort of morphed into a tie, and the French got hold of it, and they liked the little fluffy stuff, and next thing we've got ties around the world. But you think about when you look at a group of blokes in a suit with a tie on, it doesn't serve any purpose. Now, someone's indicated here, guest, it's good for hanging bad employees. Now, that's a bit rash. That's a bit rash, but I can't see the point with the tie. And in fact, I was reminded about how bad ties can be. And I'm going to get on some topics today, so don't panic. Do not panic. We've ticked the box on where we're up to. Now, that is very nice indeed. But look at it. What does it do? Someone's just put up a picture, a Giphy of a tie, and it doesn't do anything when you think about it. It actually clutters up the entire front of the shirt, and there it is. Now, how do we know that ties may not be such a good thing? Because last night, Dr. Zoo. Now, just for those that just come on board, we've ticked the box. We've got no news on Zutopia from AUSTRAC, right? It's quiet. The Indians are laying low. We're not poking the bear. We've done what we had. If we get anything, we'll immediately send stuff through. But I'd love to think that we are within a bee's dick, and it'll be turned on big time. But if you see the new website shortly, you will be blown away. The app has been tweaked and changed, and it's all happening. The team are doing a wonderful job. You would have to be brain dead if you can't use it now. It is so just exactly what Dr. Zoo would have hoped for. Big time hope, let me tell you. So, ties. Now, Dr. Zoo is a bit tired today because I was watching Dr. Fauci last night. I was very interested. I like people when they're under oath and got to give evidence. And I've never seen, I don't know whether you guys saw it or not, but this is the great man, Dr. Fauci, who put us all in the shithole with COVID. You know, it didn't come from Wuhan, the Chinese experiments, lockdowns, masks, vaccines. In fact, Dr. Zoo would have to say is a great source of evidence, having never had a single blockage in his arteries since the time he was, way back in 1963 and dropped out on the 27th of October in 1963. That's the date. Never had a problem with any arteries. And all of a sudden, after the vaccine, in fact, Dr. Zoo was absolutely clear as a whistle. And then, boom, vaccine, bit of time passes, had to get the vaccines, as we all did. You don't get anywhere without the vaccine, and you had all this pressure was put on us and all the rest of it. Not whinging, took the shots. Don't like needles, actually. I suppose that's part of the reason I stepped out this morning and took a piece of that banana bread, because my subconscious was saying, we're getting a needle today. Don't like needles. But next thing, boom, heart attack. Clogged up. Everything's clogged. The veins, the whole lot. We don't make a heart attack and not going anywhere. Now, I've just noticed on the screen we've got a bow tie. Someone's put up a bow tie. But again, look, it's just a bit of material. It doesn't do anything. The purpose. And I'm going to get to the point about that with Dr. Fauci. Now, this guy wrote a diary as a bit of a hero, and he's just completely, a million people died and all the rest of it, and this guy is in the hot seat. So he gets a pardon from the great Joe Biden, signed off, and it's a preemptive and a post-emptive pardon. It's one of those things that says if you do something naughty down the road, you're pardoned. If you've done something naughty in the past, you're pardoned. Now, I don't know where he got his legal advice from, but I couldn't take my eyes off the telly watching this bloke answer questions. And one of the questions was, what's the colour of your tie? Can you believe it? Now, we're talking about the global mass destruction of the population through these viruses that got released, all the vaccines you guys all had, and all the follow through. And I get aches and pains all the time. And my doctor, won't say who it is, and he's a coin holder. Let me say this: he very much encourages me to make sure I can deliver the outcomes of a very high price on the coins, because he has a motivation program that, whilst I'm not receptive to it, he does want to keep me fit, which is great. He's not motivated that I mean, he does. We do love him. He's a fantastic guy, fantastic family. But I'm just a bit concerned that he's overemphasising a bit on the prostate cancer side of things because, yeah, there's a bit of prodding goes on, and I think every time the prodding happens, he reminds Dr. Zoo that we haven't got the price up to $1,000 yet. So there's a bit of an issue there. But look, I can't get to the bottom of it. But Doc, if you're listening, fantastic stuff. You've been awesome with the family. And I didn't get the blood test this morning, but I will tomorrow. Now, Dr. Fauci wouldn't answer the questions 112 times. 112 times on the basis that it would incriminate himself, and he pleaded the Fifth Amendment under the US Constitution. 112 times. And that included questions like, what's the colour of the carpet that you're sitting on? What's the colour of your tie? What's your name? Rah, rah, rah. So it's a bit of a farce. And, at some stage, someone will come out of the left field, and good old Fauci, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. But there you go. So that's the ties. So I'm trying to encourage that we relax a little bit. We don't make it mandatory in the members at the ATC or the Melbourne Racing Clubs and all the rest of it, because you're under a lot of pressure. You don't need that tie in the jacket if it's hot and all the rest of it. Queensland have some good stuff. You can walk around a pair of underpants up there, but that's all good. Got to look a little bit sensible. And away you go. Now, keep an eye on the Zutopia website. I've just indicated that. That is fantastic. Now, a couple of the little topics, people, that we're excited about. Now, at the end of the Dr. Fauci watching the TV, right, and listening to 112 times this bloke plead the Fifth, I mean, he'd have been better off just saying, listen, I stuffed the world up. We're all rat shit. The bat got out of the cave over there, and, it was in the lab, and away we went. But then we had our own little Faucis, Dan Andrews, legend in Victoria. How to screw up an entire economy with a bloke like that. And you must wonder sometimes why I like Victoria, focusing on it. Well, look, Dr. Zoo, some of you may not have really sort of thought it through. But let me say this. When you look at the Victorian scenario, Dr. Zoo, and you may not have heard him, was on the ABC radio yesterday. Yes, that's true, people. I did migrate out to a little bit of a chat about certain things and the wisdoms of Dr. Zoo. Dr. Wu, get that? Wu from Zoo. Dr. Zoo was on the ABC radio. Now, Dr. Zoo doesn't treat people with left, right, or centre or everything else. There's only two scenarios in the world. One is capitalism, and the other is stupidity. So you pick the side which you want to be in. And you can apply that principle with everything. There's no such thing as socialism or communism and all that. There's just stupidity and capitalism. Now, all you Zucoin holders out there, we're all little capitalists. We're not here because we want to sit back and, some of you may want to share your wealth at the end of the day. You've been through pain. You've been through 7 years of waiting. You want to get the upside. And as soon as it goes through the roof, enjoy it. That's capitalism. Got to pay some tax, and Dr. Zoo's always not a big fan of that, but he says, look, pay it at the end of the day, and you get the enjoyment of seeing how these public servants lose money. Now, the problem I had with the ABC, and I got cut off, they cut Dr. Zoo off. Can you believe that? Because Dr. Zoo was simply saying anybody can become a politician through the back of a weedy packet. You don't need any experience. Now, that's Labor or Liberals or whatever. It doesn't matter. One Nation, you just put your shingle up, you tell everybody you're a good person, and you get a few votes, and away you go. You become a parliamentarian. And then they think that they can run the country. I mean, none of these people would have had a job with any CEO or corporation. Now, if they were directors of companies, they'd have been all jailed by now. A bit like this bureaucrat Fauci, Dr. Fauci. He was making money on the side. So while the rest of us are all in lockdown, unable to see our loved ones and watch others that are around us had died and went through all that grief, families split up and people suicide and all sorts of things and kids not getting their school education and everything else that went on, guess what? Dr. Fauci's making millions. Millions. It was extraordinary. And then you got Dan Andrews and you got Jacinta. Now, the thing about the Victorian scene is, why do these people think they can run a country or a state without any real background knowledge or experience or whatever you want, which you wouldn't put them in a fish shop to run a fish shop? And then I got cut off because I was trying to say they should be accountable, just like company directors. Dr. Zoo was accountable. He took it fair up to you-know-where, and he's still working his way through these court cases, which is fine. Everybody's got the right to do that. But it takes a long time. But you're still accountable. But they're not accountable in Parliament. You feed them good money and it spits out bad money. It's an absolute nightmare scenario. But I was surprised that the ABC cut me off. I thought, oh, well, here we go. Not to worry. That's for another day. When I get a bit of a platform going, one day we might see how that pans out, because the good news is the more and more sovereign control that we get through the Zucoins in the wallet, the Zucoin wallet, the split chain, the nodes, Zutokens, and you make a life for yourselves well post any big major rise in price, and the distribution and the ability for goods and services and all the exciting things that we can pull together. And the way this is going, everybody's having a rough time at the moment. We had our rough time. We were in the caves. We're like big bears, Zucoin bears coming out of that cave right now, and everybody's falling around us. Everybody's falling out around us. Now, why are we so powerful with this? Because the system works. It's looking magnificent. And I was sitting there after I had enough of Dr. Fauci's 112 pleading the fifths on not being able to answer any questions, which was absolutely staggering. If you get a chance, it's sort of a thing. I flicked it over on YouTube to this channel. And I hadn't watched this before. And I tested it with AI today. See, sometimes I get bored and I'm thinking, now, how can we take the humble Zucoin, fractionalize it, accelerate the growth of it through the roof, and create what we know we can do with massive, massive utility? Because the more it turns, the more that works in the economic system. And the share market had a bit of a naughty one last night. It was down. Trumpy hasn't got his head around this Iranian thing yet. They're still playing games with him. They're poking the bear. Got all that mess happening. There's about 7 big black swans out there that Dr. Zoo's been looking at. One of them's going to trip this whole thing over, and I'm still trying to work as fast as we can to be in preparation mode to accelerate asset acquisitions as it collapses. I saw there was a 15% decline today in loans from the banks. NAB's not happy. Well, you didn't have to be Einstein to work that out. That was, again, what I said earlier. Stupidity versus capitalism. Jim Chalmers, capitalism. Albo, capitalism. Jacinta, capitalism. You get the flow of events here. You don't need to know which side of the terminology you want to be. Forget all that. You've just got someone that comes to you, they present something, and you say to them, that was stupid. And Dr. Zoo's had his times of stupidity as well. One of the greatest stupidity mistakes he made was not protecting his assets 27 years ago. How stupid was that? You guys need to make sure you're protected, because there's some little lurky out there. They're going to want to get their grubby hands on your hard-earned risk-taking you've taken. You've come this far. Last thing you need is some left field wally from stupid land attacking what you've achieved and created. So there's plenty of things you can do to make that not happen. I've been on about it for years. There's plenty of old videos you can listen to Dr. Zoo. Bankruptcy. Never be ashamed of it. Never, ever. History has been made by some of the greatest bankrupts in history, whether they were artists and painters or actors or titans of industry, you name it. In fact, there would be no Apple today. It was 90 days away from bankrupt until it was saved with a $150 million infusion of cash. Boom! And look at it now. Didn't get itself tangled up in the AI mess in a real terms. And now we've got an AI problem. We've got a SpaceX, another $40 billion down the toilet last night. Geez, I tell you what, Dr. Zoo is so comfortable with the little creation and honeypot that we're building out of Albury Wodonga compared to worrying about getting to Mars and all the other stuff that's going on and the problems in SpaceX with the rocket won't launch. I mean, goodness me, terrible stuff. Losing and having the record for the greatest $1.6 trillion loss in the history of mankind. Imagine having that moniker. Good Lord. Anyway, what I was doing, and I keep coming back to give you ideas across the board. Now, this is an absolute cracker. I flicked the channel. Now, you can flick the channel too. It's not hard. You press a button. But I was on YouTube, and up come this channel of live broadcasting. Now, in one sense, it was a bit disturbing. In the other sense, it just opened the floodgates of unbelievable concepts and ideas for Zukaz. I couldn't believe it. And I put it into the system this morning, and it just spat out. And it said in this update, based on this concept, watching this YouTube show, I'll get to it in a minute, that Zukaz, with this additional functionality concept, is genuinely one of the greatest first-time opportunities in the history of tech to be advanced along these lines. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? That's the opening line. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I was sitting there watching this YouTube, and there's thousands of channels of live broadcasts. So someone pops up with a webcam. We're not talking about, while they're walking around taking photos of themselves or videos of themselves. We're talking about cameras that are based in incredible locations around the world. So at one stage, Dr. Zoo was watching some people out of Philadelphia. Now, that was a bit tragic. I started to get a bit upset. Because it was live, it was in the morning, and it was something out of a horror movie of zombies and the amount of people in the streets of Philadelphia that were drugged up, out of their brain, hunched over, lying in the street. It wasn't good to watch. Now, the bit that got me was when this poor bugger, rested his weary head on the side of the pavement, hardly got any clothes on. In fact, there was another one there, lady, who did a whizzer in the street. Oh, my lordy. It wasn't good. You wonder where our great countries of money is being spent trying to help people. And what are we doing? Running around, putting it into the Institute of Measurement, for example, in Australia. I mean, fair income. But anyway, we have the same problems here in Australia. But it was live. Now, this poor bugger had his little bag. I mean, that was his whole life in this little bag. And some other drugged up user decided that when the bloke fell asleep or whatever he did, or he was in his hallucinations, he stole his bag. And the camera followed him all around this street in Philadelphia. And then they took out the parcel, and a couple more got involved, and then they looked like they were running down to a shop to sell it, and the bag was then stolen. And oh, my Lord, it just went on and on. So that's not a good live viewing of what's going on in Philadelphia. But I sort of flicked the camera then, and there was some nice scenes. There was a great scene of a live broadcast down there in Dublin. The Irish. Now, I love the Irish. If you're Irish out there, and I know Irish, you listen Irish. To be sure. Let me tell you, Ireland is a wonderful place. Some of the best alcohol on the planet, people, sensational music. And there was this live stream in this little Irish street, and I never heard of it before because I hadn't been to that one, but it was called the Temple Bar. Nice big red front. If you look it up and you go on the YouTube and you see it, and this camera sits there and it just keeps focusing on the crowds taking selfies outside of this bar, the Temple Bar. And it was going on and on. It was fantastic. So compared to Philadelphia, the Temple Bar was a godsend. They were happy people. I don't know whether you've seen that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, but that gives you an idea. You know, you can go to the depths of despair and live in the wallow, or you can come out and bounce around and be happy and get on with life and make yourself, make a note of yourself with wages or whatever. And you guys are the same. You take a risk, and we're going to be happy people. Happy. But there'll be those around us that won't be so happy. But this Temple Bar, then it started to accelerate the ideas for Dr. Zoo. And what I've come up with, I spoke to the tech team today. As we've been prepping ourselves with the Zukaz app, because that's going to be the crackerjack distribution for our mass marketing, we can pinpoint fractions of Zucoins or values of vouchers anywhere in the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to your phone directly if you've got the app, or hunt and collect. And I started to get thinking, how would it be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing if we started getting people who want to get money from views, because that's how this generation works. They like to share all their inner thoughts and bubbles and look at themselves. And I did enjoy too. Dr. Zoo love the trolls. They're wonderful because they what they don't realise is they carry on and bag you out, but they're actually making money for you. They forget that the more contentious things are and the more hot under the collar people get, if you sit back and relax and don't take offence to it, like, Jacinta Allen, there she is. She's been called a witch. She should be proud of that. She would have made thousands on the back of that. You can call anybody what you like. I mean, look, there's poor old Gina Reinhardt there, the ABC, and I don't like the ABC now because they cut me off, but, they had that ridiculous little skit there the other day, and no doubt she'll probably sue them for defamation. But there you go. What I'm getting at is people. ZuCam. You interact with the live drops that are happening around the world. What am I talking about? I'm talking about that we have the only products that can achieve this. There is no existing platform in the world that would combine location-based AR hunting. You're all aware of that. You've seen that. If you go to Zukaz.com, you'll see how successful that was with people at the wineries and people looking for coins out in the middle of the lakes and all that sort of stuff. We know that is a huge success. We have had it where pubs compete against each other in the centre of Dean Street and drag people across from one pub to the other. We know it works brilliantly. And now it'll even work far better because of tokenization. As I said, you can end up with a $20 token fraction from one pub, and you could put that online and sell that on Zutopia and make money. That's huge. You've got the merchant to consumer direct distribution. No middlemen, no more meta, no more hundreds of billions of dollars on stupid ads that don't work. The money goes straight into the pocket of the consumer. You've got the peer-to-peer resale on Zutopia. You've got real-life transfers with no fees and charges. But now, think about a global audience that's watching people live hunting and collecting or being distributed these value tokens while you're watching on TV in Albury. You're seeing people collect your tokens live outside the Temple Bar in Dublin. Can you imagine that? Now, I don't know whether you got your heads on this just yet, but just think about a movie like The Truman Show. Now, you would have all seen The Truman Show, Jim Carrey. And that's the show where the little boy is born and bred in a normal housing environment with a mum and dad. And it turns out that everybody around him is an actor. And there's a bubble over the entire stage set of his daily life. And the rest of the world is watching him grow up. So it's a bit like reality TV, all that sort of stuff we see. Big Brother and all that, that's built around that. All these live reality shows with these good-looking people, the good-looking people that can't work out where they want to go in life, and we're watching it. There's no reason whatsoever we can't have you participating directly, dropping value, or even helping people. Now, if there's a sense of wanting to help people, and you decide that you want to help people in a particular jurisdiction or location or whatever, you can drop directly in front of these people the particular token of value and watch it live on TV. Now, as those ratings and global audience pick up, you've now got interaction between a live audience. You've got the live participants, that is the consumers with the apps collecting and doing funny things. You can have a live trackable event that while you're seeing friends and people traveling through Europe and all the rest of it, they can be on a 24-hour, 7-day, if that's what you want to see, opportunity of what they're up to and what they're seeing, because you can participate with the tokens back to them of value. A global audience, based on what I've just tentatively called ZuCam, can explode in growth because it's fascinating to see some of these things, what people are doing live. Now, one of the other shots that Dr. Zu had was quite fascinating, was scenes in Rio de Janeiro and on the beach. Thousands of people on the beach watching that live. There's no reason you can't within certain limitations, but Dr. Zu could have dropped $50 or $100 to some of the young people there that haven't got any money, but they're on the beach, and if they had their phone, they could have gone and collected directly that value proposition and then redeemed it back to the particular merchant that's on the beach. I was in another live broadcast in the morning, early hours of the morning there in LA, and even on the California beaches. There was another one there out, and which was mind-blowing. There was a scene of people watching zebras and elephants in South Africa that we could have been dropping vouchers, etc. to. They're not too close to the elephant, but you don't want to get too close to the elephant, that's for sure. So conceptually, the global audience creates massive growth between both the participants and those that are non-participants, creating a bit of a funny environment about what they're doing as a result of the technology. And you can't do it. You cannot do this without the split chain Zucoin fraction as an idea. And the more money that goes through because of value from the merchants or the consumers directly, or your own friends, and you might even have decided that you've got some of your family members are sitting there in Greece, and you go live with the ZuCam live, and you press the buttons, and away you go, and suddenly you're streaming your family in Athens, receiving some money that they might need for coffee that morning or whatever it is for the hotel, and wandering around with them in Athens, which is now being streamed on your ZuCam channel. This is not money for Dr. Zu. And let me tell you this. You're there making money because of your camera work, which is a direct correlation to the products that are being distributed. How good's that? As a global phenomenon. That's what we're talking about. If you get a chance, have a look at some of these live streams. Like one of them was, as a final wrap up to this particular point, was the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. Now, the bombs are going off in Tel Aviv. That's live, which is a bit scary. But nevertheless, here we have thousands of people at the Wailing Wall that you could be interacting with as a result of their very presence. And you're watching this and you're increasing the global audience because of your actions, of what you're doing to benefit those people in a good way, in a very good way indeed, around the world. There's no limitations to how big that can be or is or should be. Now, we've got a question. Yes, we've got Confident Legend. I just spoke to a real estate agent and my solicitor and asked them if they've registered for AUSTRAC, but both of them did not have a clue what AUSTRAC was. They did not have a clue. Well, they better get a clue. I can tell you that we have an agent here literally the other day, one of our local Albury agents, and they have locked in with AUSTRAC because one of our great friends here wants to sell their property in Albury, Wodonga, and could not sell it without completing the documentation required by AUSTRAC for AML and KYC. And it was extensive. It was a very large document with all of the disclosures that need to be made that AUSTRAC wants, and for all of the material that needs to be attached. Let me say this, that's the big thing. So they need to get on their bikes and check out what they're doing. And I can tell you for a fact, the lawyers are on it, those that know what they're doing. So Dr. Zoo has a number of legal firms, be it Denton's, be it Gilbert and Tobin, be it even his business partner, Peter Kane, Law Doc. These people are all well attuned to needing to be registered with AUSTRAC. So I would be concerned if your real estate agent and your solicitor don't know what they're doing, because then every time they do something, if the AUSTRAC demands it, then they're going to get a really big whack with some penalties. We don't want penalties, people. So it's very broad. But look, to be fair to your lawyer and solicitor, like real estate agent, it's a dangerous little trap under the Act, because a lot of people aren't aware of what's going on, and it's not like there's a big broadcast out there saying that as a result of this, you need to have these things in place, which is a bit unfortunate. So yeah, just you might get them to have a bit of a squiz and check out AUSTRAC, the website, because it's very clear. There's a form actually from memory. There's an online form that you can fill out with your business and your details, and it'll direct you to some questions, and then it'll spit out the other end and say, yes, you do need to be registered, or no, you don't need to be registered, etc. So check that out. Now, when we're talking about tokenization, I get excited about the Zukaz thing. I mean, that's a big role it's going to play with database. Now, there's a question there. It says, how do all those people in LA beaches get the Zukaz app to capture the vouchers? Well, what we do is we target strategically in certain places, and LA is one of them, our larger merchants, and they will capture it for us. We're not here to convince anything other than that we can give a benefit to the merchants. There's some big merchants over there. When I say merchants, it's also those sort of businesses that have large databases. So you shouldn't sort of get hamstrung on the term merchant. That tends to sort of zoom you in on a Zambreros or one of those sort of organisations, but it does embrace anything with large databases. And there are massive corporate databases that you have people associated with. For example, can't disclose this at this point in time, but things like a telco, or which is a phone company, or a utility company, which is electricity and gas and so on, they are very, very good targets because they want to get the message out. And then we have things like racetracks and all sorts of stuff. Alligator Blood has a nice big base of great people in LA, and it will get out no problems at all. You start out small and away you go. But Zukaz is the easiest selling pitch on the planet because you don't ask for anything. You don't go to the merchant and say, hit me up with some money up front and I'll give you XYZ. You simply say, there's the app, connect up to it, take a coin, get some coins yourself, fractionalize it, press a few buttons and create your vouchers 24 hours a day. You don't need anybody to help you with that. Put the value into those, send them out because they've got their own databases, and they go direct to the consumer, and then there's a relationship that builds from there. And this is including of restaurants, and gyms are very good, got some good relationships with gyms because they all have databases, and away you go. And the consumer doesn't need to do anything because it's to his benefit. If he wants to get those vouchers of value to either use back with the merchant or on sell them. So universities are very good. We look at universities because you have very good, active young students and people that want to make a few dollars while they're at uni. And this is a way to do that because they can hunt and collect, build up a portfolio of vouchers in their wallets. And how do we know this? Because we've proven it here in Australia when we did Deakin University and so forth. Pubs are easy, as an example. You talk to chains of pubs, and away you go. So it's not asking for money. It's a success-based driven fee. If the vouchers get redeemed or the data we accumulated underneath, as I've said before, with Zutopia, you are able to marry that data through and on sell to other like-minded people or businesses. That's the beauty of that. Let me tackle a few more questions here. Yeah, Mysterious Companion, you've been answered, I think, on that question. You got a little bit jumped in a bit late there, but that's okay. No dramas at all coming in there, so that's fine about the AUSTRAC. You're across that. Now, I won't talk about the cows today because there's been a development in Brazil. I'll talk about that on Monday because it's a fascinating extension of what Dr. Zu was on about with these great mates at the Queensland Racing Integrity Commission about the ability to use fractionalisation and split chain for ownership proofs in the horse racing industry. And remember, these are all things that can come with big databases, right? Everything has a database. The only trouble is they make money out of the database, not you. We're trying to reverse engineer that. So the merchant and you make money or get value and actually use it. And you create sales. It's a fascinating concept. It's been around for thousands of years. As we saw with our coffee testing we did here in Albury, we had 243 vouchers that are, as I recall, we had a 240 collection success rate. And of that, we had a increase in spend from the simple, humble. We had a 90% conversion rate in terms of being actually converted to coffees, and the balance went into trading. And out of that, there was a 43% increase in sales because people said, gee, how good's this? I've got a coffee, basically, or 2 coffees for free. And while I'm here, I might as well have that banana cake or, a sandwich. And there's an increase in sales, which goes directly to the merchant instead of to Mark Zuckerberg, who keeps blowing it on AI, which is all going pear-shaped recently. If you read the news, you will see that's one of the black swans out there, one of the great swans. We've got a few swans, as I said earlier, and they're all lurking. One of them's trying to see who's the better black swan than the other black swans, but they are there. They are there. Now, I'll talk about cows on Monday because it's an absolute crackerjack scenario that's now happening in Brazil with the ability for tokenization. Call it CowMed, and it is a beauty. Now, they're going to try and use the Ethereum networks to do this. We have split chain, which can blow it apart. But the point is, it can track the full daily habits of the cow. The time it wakes up, the time it goes to bed. And it locks in all of the information that's required. It even gives you some of that live coverage of the cow out in the paddock, in the middle of the Brazilian jungle there somewhere. And all of a sudden, they've realised that they can now monitor that asset. That's an asset. That's a real-world asset called the cow. And then they, as a result of that, other people saying, we know that that's there because of this information. We will lend money against the value of your asset, the one cow that you own. I'll talk more about that because that's where this is all heading. But you can only do it because you guys are sitting on Zucoins that can be fractionalized, that can then be put into play around the world. And we're talking some pretty big numbers on dairy cows at the moment. Pretty big numbers, people. That's well beyond. And then you can embrace that even more so. If you want to look at your cow all day, you can put that on a ZuCam, and there you go. You've now got a combo between the two different product lines that creates a world interest. You'd be amazed at what people look at. There are millions, tens of millions of views that people look at of things like pigeons sitting on a building in Melbourne, and they're just looking at the pigeon. Mind-blowing. Alligator blood. We recently just released a little video of Dr. Zu taking him in the stalls, and we just hit nearly 30,000 views of that one. That's just a humble little say hello to alligator blood. He's got 246,000 odd fans. At one time, at his peak, his best video that he had was nearly 10 million views. It's a lot of views, a lot of views. So we'll talk about how This is exploding beyond. Once we've got the unleashed the beast with Zutopia, we've got our marketing, we've got our people coming on board. We don't need a lot of numbers to get the coin prices moving in the right direction, people, because it doesn't take much. Dr. Zoo's still focused on that the turnover on 100x can increase quite considerably to where we've been in the past on our turnover. And we want to get that to 30, 40, $50 million a day, and then we'll accelerate the growth from there. And you won't care at the end of the day. You won't give a stuff. All you'll be worrying about is that the thing's on, your app is running, and you're going to get no sleep because you'll be pinging off all these things about what you trade and what you can do with somebody that might be in Brazil looking at his cow, or sitting at the Temple Bar in Dublin, or your new friend that you've got now in Philadelphia, or you could be at the footy, you could be at some spectacular game, you could be at the tennis. Think about it. Anywhere in the world, you'll be communicating directly with trading on all sorts of wonderful things that come about. So we'll talk about the cows as an extension of the firepower that we have because of split chain and the great work. Now, if you're not sure, we've got some more announcements coming out soon on myzucoins.org. That's more some tweaks and excitement within the wallet itself. We haven't heard of anyone with any issues in the wallets. As long as you back up, you won't have any issues. You back up, you'll be fine. And then you can restore. The connection between a Zucoin wallet and Zutopia has been running perfect. Perfect. I was getting a bit stressed out there in January when people were struggling with the copy and paste, and not so much the young ones, but the Dr. Zoo generation were having trouble. But that seems to have now vaporized. That's gone. There's no problems there. The app's looking pretty smooth. So you'll see that coming out with the Zutopia app. Absolutely brilliant on that front. And then we'll start to give you a taste of the Zukaz app, which is an accelerated high-powered version. I mean, just to give you an idea on the app, the things we can do. So let's say one of our great listeners here is sitting in Philippines, and I know he's sitting in Philippines because I'm going to wrap up the show with his name today, who's given me the authority to tell who he is. But I could be sending through Zukaz a token, and that token not only comes with a fractional of a Zucoin of some value that I want to give Jerry, but it may be that it's a value that pre-books some of his booking fees for his new Airbnb condos, and those condos look magnificent, Jerry, if you are listening. There's a story to the condo, but let me tell you this, that token, you could press a button and it'll go live interactive with a direct video between Jerry in Manila and Dr. Zoo in Albury, and then a button can be pressed and we could broadcast that live so that Jerry gets a feed on the live broadcast, as I've described earlier, that allows for all of you to have a squiz at his new condos in Manila and talk directly people to the owner, negotiate a deal, even though it's on Airbnb. That's the sort of structure we can put in play because you know it's legitimate because can be confirmed off the split chain, just like you're seeing what's happening with the live, express checking of all the wallet addresses, the public wallet addresses that you might be seeing that's happening. So make sure you keep up to speed with the zucoins.com website. You go and revisit zukaz.com. That is absolutely brilliant stuff that's about to be unleashed. Make sure you check out zutopia.com. If you've got any queries, people, they're gladly received, especially those that have issues with the apps. Make sure you put that to the support at zutopia.com or support at zucoins.com. Very, very important. Now, why I mentioned Jerry was one of my way back Easy Bond developers, fantastic guy, did some extraordinary things. I've got to say, Jerry, with you and Pete, and the work that you did over the journey in that back end build, none of it has gone to waste. I think the only thing that Dr. Zoo's wasted to date is $1 million on the other exchanges that don't longer exist, but that's okay. We preempted that. That's why we built Zutopia, so we can build that cost into Zutopia. But from Jerry's point of view, extremely loyal, amazing guy out of WA. And guess what, people? Jerry is celebrating because he's done a deal. And the deal is, and he told me he doesn't mind me sharing this out to you guys, but on the back of his Zucoins, and there's a financial structuring that he did, and whatever pricings he's done, it's of no interest to me other than this is a magnificent outcome. We have our first Zucoin person that has bought 5 condos in Manila. And you heard me right, 5. 5 condos in Manila. And thank you, Jerry, for sharing the visuals of those. Magnificent. They look fantastic, and that's another spot where we have an incredible database. And I know you're there dealing with our contacts up there, but that's because we can legally put our Zutopia into the Philippines and unleash some fantastic people and friends in the Philippines. Makes it easy with all English speaking. And Jerry, you're there. You are at ground zero. And congratulations on your 5 condos with Zucoins. Fantastic. Unbelievable. So we've got somewhere to stay, people. We've got conventions that we want to explode around the world. And I did say to everybody, listen, you've got to listen hard here, because if there's a lot of money, that's surplus money, there's only, as I said earlier, there's only so many. I don't need to be, or well, you don't want to be. I mean, what's the point of losing $1.6 trillion? You could do better things with that. But we can put it back to the community. And there are dreams and visions of having things like the Temple Bar in Dublin, which is why I flagged it. That could very well be a series of bars around the world called the Zoo Bars, exclusive for you people. And what I mean by that, you can almost fund it based on the propositions of other merchants with the Zukaz capability, which means that when you go to the front door, you can cheerio and carry on, and you'll be on a live stream, and you walk in the door and you show your phone and it says you've got X number of coins, and guess what? That automatically gives you the benefit of whatever you want to drink to that certain level, food, etc. It becomes an exclusive Zuconian harbour house where you get the returns as a result of the global profits, not Mark Zuckerberg putting hundreds of billions of dollars into stupid projects, or our great man like Dr. Fauci losing American taxpayers' monies that could go back to people in Philadelphia, which is really very stressful. But there you go. These are the things that we can explode as we're coming to the pointy end. Let's just get through the AUSTRAC scenario. Congratulations to you, Jerry. That's the first big one there. We've had other products and barter that's been going on behind the scenes. You haven't worried about Zutopia trading. You haven't stressed about that. You've had a market that's been created by yourself over there, and you now are the proud owner of 5 condos that are on Airbnb. Fantastic stuff. And I know you said in the latest text that you've got some big ideas on some coding you're going to do with tokenization. So, goodness me, Jerry, it give me no greater pleasure seeing you worth billions more than Dr. Zoo. You carried us through an incredible journey, and every single Zuconian should be, one day will realise the firepower between our old teams that have all come together, where the old codes have not been lost and the old codes are taken advantage of, especially when I look back at the codes that we did with Easy Bonds that's now being played into AUSTRAC for our current Zutopia position, or we wouldn't be in a strong position at all. We wouldn't know what we're doing. Brilliant stuff, people. Very exciting times. Now, we've got, oh, look at all this. We've got a couple of Confident Legend. I probably won't go deep into what you're wanting to understand there, but I'll read your question anyway, and I'll try and wind down here. But Confident Legend is saying, no, hang on, I'll go back one because I think we're talking to the Popular Soul, who says, "Hey, Doc, love your work, and I know you won't take offence." No, Dr. Zoo never takes offence. You'd be joking. You're going to have to be pretty strong to work out how to get Dr. Zoo on the wrong side. But could you put a glass eye to sleep? Let's get on your G800. Well, don't worry. It's not about Dr. Zoo playing with his new toy and just using it himself. I do have some marketing ideas that will expand that, because if you're talking about a globalized community of like-minded people that should be like-mindedly rewarded for the risks you've taken, and you knew from the start, as we all did, that the high risks we're dealing in this space, and we're seeing about how many have gone down the toilet and how many, like 13.4 million coins have been lost. Trumpy's made a lot of money, but I think he's cost people nearly $3.8 billion. But there you go, matter for them. But we have a community, and because of the way the product works, because you've got free transferability of the product, and I'm talking about the Zucoin wallet, and you've got sovereign control, and the way we do it because of expansion, and we've always said from day one, always utility, 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 product. Get it out and about so that you get the benefit of that product directly, not some schmuck with an advertising bot trying to convince your data to be used for advertising purposes. Now, with all of that in mind, that can lead to visions like the Zoo Bar, and that can lead to special occasions where we have people either randomly or otherwise, and this goes glove in hand, hand in glove with the things like the lottery concept and the takeovers that Dr. Zoo wants to do and all that excitement. There's plenty of spare money that can be rallied and pushed around. And if that happens, then all of a sudden you become an exclusive club. And the more exclusive and the harder it is to get your coins, you know what happens, people. That's called the quantity theory of money, supply and demand. And that makes it even more valuable. There's only so many Picasso paintings out there. That's why they trade well, and the Van Goghs trade well for that reason, even stamps, if you think about some of the rare stamps that are out there. Now, Confident Legend has said, well, there obviously is a big problem when you want to buy a property. Firstly, Stripe has to transfer the Zucoin funds to my debit card. Hopefully my bank is registered. Secondly, when I transfer the funds to my solicitor's trust account to pay the deposit, then for the solicitor to pay the balance to settle the purchase of the real estate, this could hold up the sale quite some time. Also, if it is an auction and payment is to be paid at the auction, sounds like a total stuff-up. Well, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself there. Whilst I'm very happy that Jerry has succeeded with getting 5 condos on the back of his Zucoins, you put too many things in play there. If you listen to Dr. Zoo, eventually Dr. Zoo wants the globalization of Zucoins, which are in your hands, to deal directly with merchants. That's why I keep banging on about Zukaz, because there is no Stripe when you do have merchants accepting Zucoins directly. Now, I have got a website, not quite ready yet. Riley will get very angry if I reveal that website address, but it's very close to being finished. Probably share that next week, which is a specific site that gives the codes for merchants to start integrating direct payment buttons onto their websites to accept Zucoins directly. So there's no fees, there's no reversals, no chargebacks, no risks. There'll be an automatic fee of the current price directly from Zutopia, and that means that you can go direct to buy goods and services. In fact, Dr. Zoo just sort of did it's not financial advice, because you can blow things up your ass as much as Dr. Zoo, but all we're saying is that in addition to that, that gives a bit of a scope to, as long as you're providing some coins with a less than 10,000 purchase, which I've talked about under Australian laws, and you can get your own advice on this. We have done a paper up, which is pretty well hot off the press. I might talk to Pete, our support desk, about that if people want to have a look at that. What it's saying is that as long as it's for personal use at those levels, and if the coins did go up to 100x, you get the benefit of no CGT, and that can be used, that value, to that particular merchant. Now, that might be part of the deposit for the property, but you don't have these layers if the merchant or the person that owns the property is so excited about Zucoins, because that'll come down the road and there's a huge price like Bitcoin, that they will just simply do a deal directly with you to sell their property straight to you for Zucoins. You will not need to convert to fiat. So just think about that, but that's not going to happen overnight. That's the last thing when you start to get into big real world assets. We start out small, we do the low-lying fruit, we get the volume up onto the Zutopia, we create the demand for the coins and price, we unleash the merchants, we get them excited with the direct value distribution to consumers. That creates serious wealth and turnover and quantity theory of money formulas for us. And then you start to come out of the woodwork, those that say, look, I'm sitting on a $10 million house here in Sydney, and I'd like to take just Zucoins because they're trading at $100,000 a coin rather than any monies in cash, because you've got access to use those Zucoins with millions of merchants around the world. And that can be merchants that are, for example, you've mentioned your solicitor there. Your solicitor may not need a trust account because he could have a verifiable online split chain ledger of coins that he's holding with a specific smart contract in relation to your Zucoins that represents the deposit of the house. So don't get too far ahead of yourself, everybody. Just sit tight. These things happen and evolve, but it can smash it out of the park pretty quick once you get that traction. And we have been waiting for things more important than even AUSTRAC, and that was the early days with notifications, which because it's so easy now, people don't even think about what they're doing in their Zucoin wallet. But that was not easy by any stretch from our CTO's position. I remind you once again, that was 390,000 lines of code down to 20,000. And that, people, was a big job of effectively re-engineering the blockages that were caused by Apple and Android, etc. And you get the benefit of that now with instant transfers and two-factor authentication. And we get the benefit as we start to hit our straps with Zukaz because of fractionalization and the way in which these vouchers can be pushed out. And when you look at all this sort of stuff around the world, we don't have the issues in terms of Zutopia or Zucoins per se in other jurisdictions because their laws didn't get caught up in this stuff that was introduced by the great David Pocock and Jackie Lambie, who rushed through the changes on making arrangements, which is why we're waiting for AUSTRAC today. But happy to be compliant with it and happy to work with AUSTRAC. I'm getting very nervous about it, but very happy to see that if that comes out shortly, that'll be mind-blowingly unbelievable. Be the best 90 days we've ever had waiting, and the boys have not been sitting idle. So there you go. Now, let's see. Look, there's a few questions there. I think Confident Legend, you've got some nice questions there. Just those are easily answered by going to z8digital.com. Z8 Digital is the AI that has now been compiling 7 odd years of data relating to us specifically. You can get it searched through Grok and stuff at the moment as well. But if you go there, those questions you're raising can easily be addressed through Z8 Digital. And if you don't get the response that you think you need, then by all means, support@zucoins.com. Peter will gladly respond to your questions because those questions end up in the database, and it's a way in which we can minimize later questions from potentially millions more people that might be on the same thought process as yourself, and you only need it answered once, and away you go. So I think that'll do me today, people. I think Dr. Zoo, yes, we've got nothing absolutely negative to tick. We're just busy getting ready for the explosion of things we can do, the opportunities, as I've just indicated earlier. It seems a bit far-fetched and out there, but it's not. It's a reality because we've succeeded in beating and bashing down the technology that is the Great Wall of Bitcoin and what Satoshi was desperately trying to do. I'd encourage you at some stage, get hold of the white paper in 2009 January 3, I think it was, from Satoshi, because what's in that paper is what we've achieved, what he hasn't done and won't achieve, and you won't even be talking about the type of utilities that we can do because we have the great success of split chain and the other bits and pieces that come with it. On that happy note, everybody, look forward to Monday. We'll keep an eye on things. As I said, if anything comes through between now and then, we will bang it out straight away. I'm referring to AUSTRAC. Don't you worry about that. And that green button will be pressed and we will be going. You will be busy not sleeping at night trading. We will be busy not sleeping at night building the databases as to how we want it and the action. We're getting bombarded with developers. That I knew that was going to happen. It's amazing what's coming through to the team from LinkedIn. People getting excited about what we've done, the ease of the transactions. We've got some pretty heavyweight corporates. Now, I don't know whether Peter has shared that with you. I'm probably jumping out of school here, but there's a big wealth group out of New York City with I think it's a show on tonight. I don't know whether that's open to everybody at the moment or it's a bit of a test thing with what they're doing or what they want to do with Zucoins. Pete's pretty keen on that one, so that'll be a beauty. But anyway, there's plenty happening, plenty of excitement, and cannot wait for everything, people. So excited. Stay with it. We'll be back and gather together again on Monday. Cheers, everybody.